Hi, everybody. This is Thaddaus Dawson Jr., and welcome to the 10K podcast. This week, I talk about how excited I am about my guests and our relationship. This is a very, very special, and it is some of the folks that I most respect and love in the world. And so it's celebrating my family's business. My family has been in HVAC for 45 years. My father, Thaddaus Dawson Sr., has been buying and investing in real estate for almost 60 years now. And so his business, Dawson HVAC, is celebrating his 45th year, with my brother Todd Dawson being running the business over the last 5 or 6 years. And that transition has been absolutely torturous for everybody, but we have made it and survived through it. However, we also have my nephew, Micaiah Dawson, which is the embodiment of all of us. He has a background in HVAC, as well as he just recently obtained his appraisal license. He was a recipient of the ADI scholarship, and he is bringing the marriage of his appraisal background with his HVAC background. And I know we talk about value on the appraisal podcast, so we're definitely going to touch on the contributory value of HVAC systems, but also the value of family businesses and family legacy. And so a little bit of background about how I actually got into real estate. It was kind of, I didn't have a choice because we always had to work on houses my entire life. So we will touch on that and a lot of the practices that we are still traumatized by. My brother and I is having to carry drywall up 3 flights of steps. I think that might have been before they started using the boom trucks. And I think we used to get punished for tearing the ends up on the drywall while carrying it up the steps. So we'll touch on a little bit of that stuff today. Some family legacies, some family business. Hopefully, if it gets a little too heated or contentious, Rick can edit some of this stuff out. A lot of you all wonder where I get my confidence from. It's because my entire life, my father taught me that I could do anything, and he instilled that courage to me. And I didn't even realize that I was short until I was 30 years old. So you have to have some heroes in your life. He's definitely been one of my heroes. And the other hero is my brother. And once I turned 30, my dad taught me that I could do anything because I was his son. And my brother taught me that I could do anything because I was God's son. So he's been an inspiration to me as well. And even though he hasn't been on the earth as long as any of us, my nephew Micaiah, he knows more than all of us put together. And I am so blessed to have him on the podcast because he is the future. And I consult with him from time to time, and he gives me some much needed advice and guidance. So I have 3 of my most favorite people and my heroes on today. And Rick, if you could go ahead and include them in. And I guess how you can distinguish Micaiah from the rest of us is because he's the only one with hair. So we'll start with my dad, Thaddaus Dawson Sr. Daddy, thank you for coming on to the podcast. And, I'm really excited about hearing some of the stories. Well, I know most of the stories. Of course, nobody knows all the stories, but I know quite a few of the stories. And then Todd has a couple of stories. But how does it feel celebrating your 45th year in business?
It feels great. It's like sometimes a dream. You have to wake up and realize that you've actually been able to survive that length of time. But I've survived because I've tried to be an honorable person and do what I say I'm going to do. Nothing ever goes really smooth and easy, but if you have a commitment to make it happen, and spend your time doing that, it usually turns out pretty good. And I'm one of
So
those guys. I'm one of those guys. If it takes me 2 hours or 20 hours, I'm going to hang in there and finish the day.
okay, that has definitely been consistent. And Todd, how has it been working with your father over the years? Now I know those early years were um, involuntary, but then later on over the last six, how long have you been running the business now?
Since 2018.
Mhm.
2018.
Okay, and I know the first 3 years I would get calls from both of you all at various times of the day complaining about the other, and I felt like I was a referee. Lately, those calls don't come quite as much. Now the calls are a lot more pleasant and a lot more uh, smooth and equitable.
And I'm going to tell you why.
Well,
A
first of
friend of
all,
mine.
I know all of you all are always right and the easiest guys to get along with, in your opinion.
Oh yeah.
So,
Well, yeah. You know I'm the easiest guy to get along with. You know, all you got
yeah,
to do is do it my way.
exactly. Yeah.
But I think that the thing that has eased the situation is through one guy. His name is Bud Johnson. Okay. And you say, well, what can one guy do? You know, well, Bud has been able to tell my son things that I couldn't tell him. You know, I've gotten my son to a point, and I've did what I could do to get him there. Okay. But then all of a sudden, he was a little bit brighter than me, and I really couldn't tell him. So Bud has been able to tell him things that I couldn't tell him. Does that sound strange? On my phone, I have Bud stepdaddy.
Oh, okay. Well, they say it takes a village.
Oh,
So,
no doubt,
and
no doubt.
and and so and sometimes I get the benefit of knowing and all of you all and able to offer as objective a viewpoint as I can, because a lot of times it's hard to see the picture while you're in it. And most businesses do not make it to the second generation, and definitely most black businesses don't make it to the second generation, because typically what happens is the second generation goes to college and gets an education and doesn't want to necessarily come back and be a part of the business, and so the legacy doesn't seem to move forward. In this case, especially when Todd came back from Morehouse, man, that was just a transition. I didn't did he even touch the ground? Wasn't he walking on
No,
water
he
when he
didn't.
graduated from Morehouse?
When he when he came back from Morehouse, he had an S on his chest, you know,
Oh,
or
and
an
his
M on
back.
his chest. Yeah. super
Yeah,
super Morehouse man, you know. But
man,
I
and
was impressed with
unfortunately,
that.
here in Atlanta, I'm surrounded by Morehouse, and some of we I tease him about singing old Morehouse, and some of his classmates are now some of our lifelong friends since he's been in school. And then so we know you went to Morehouse, Todd, and it takes a Morehouse man to really do anything properly. But we got young Micaiah over here, and Micaiah went to Fort Valley, 1890 Land Grant School, and Micaiah, just jump in and talk about a little bit about your HVAC experience and the um, appraisal experience and how you bringing those two together.
Sure thing. And so, much like everybody else here, I've had my fair trips riding around with Grandpa doing work with him on houses, any projects that he was working on. And so, some of my hands-on experience with HVAC, I have a background in residential, and then I have some background also in commercial HVAC. And a lot of my career has transitioned and led to me even being in HVAC distribution sales to contractors. And so over that time, I've accrued a lot of experiences with just knowing about equipment, knowing about efficiencies of equipment, and how air quality can really affect the home and the environment. And so bringing it back to appraisal, when you talk about the quality and air quality of a home, being able to come home and have hospital grade air. What is the worth of that? What is the value on that? As climate change is constantly occurring as smog levels continue to rise nationwide and worldwide. Some of these small quality of life things, even like air, having good quality air in your home, are going to become more valuable in the future. And so, really, it's just bridging that gap between some of the blue collar experience that I've grown up with and had the pleasure of participating in to some of these newer skills that I've gained recently in appraisal.
Okay. Well, that's helpful to know. And Todd, you haven't said very much, and you usually have a lot to say. And Todd is Micaiah's father. And like earlier on, Thad Sr. talked about how Todd knew more than him. And we know Micaiah knows more than you, Todd. So can you talk a little bit about, and actually, Todd, you had an appraisal license there for a while, and you transitioned. And how has that been helpful to you in the HVAC world? And what do you think about HVAC and the contributory value? It's almost, if you don't have HVAC in a house now, it's functionally obsolete. So, and I know you talk about mini splits and what the costs are. And I know Thad Senior, the first question you always like to ask is, when was the last time you changed the filter? So, Todd, if you could talk a little bit about your HVAC experience and your appraisal experience, and how you actually sell the systems and how you feel the systems contribute to value.
Could I touch this before we get further? I want to say I've been proud of the progress that Todd has made. I'm going to say that I've been proud of the expansion of knowledge that I don't really get a chance to say this. I don't know if I've ever said it, okay, to be honest with you, but I'm really proud of what he's been able to do.
Well, a lot of that's been because of my tutelage. So a lot of the things where you had dropped the ball, I picked the ball up and moved him forward. So I was out there blocking front. So I'm proud of him as well, because he is doing a fantastic job, especially for somebody who doesn't really listen, who knows everything about everything that has ever existed under the sun, and who has never made a mistake to this date, if I'm correct.
I've made a lot of mistakes, so that's
Really?
not true. Yes, absolutely. I made a lot of mistakes, but I try to limit the mistakes and try to limit their impact at this point, at this late stage of my life. So, thank you for having me and having us. I think this is a great thing to just have us here, discussing the 45th anniversary of Dawson Heating and Air Conditioning, all due to the hard work and the dedication that my dad put into it, since 1980. And as you said, I was a real estate appraiser, and I was trying to get the timing and the years right. But I think I got licensed in 1993 and remained licensed, I think, through 2005 before I relinquished my license and moved on to another career. But that gave me a great baseline of experience and understanding of the real estate appraisal and real estate in general, residential and commercial, and just a great foundation, because I was able to take the coursework through the appraisal foundation, and that's what helped me build that foundation to get my license. And also working along with
You took
you.
those courses through the Appraisal Institute, not the Appraisal Foundation.
Okay, yes, sir. Thank you. That's why I need you here, the Appraisal Institute. Thank you. But also just working with you, that as my trainer, and just learning, from the very beginning of the time that I started in the field to the time that I, stopped working in the appraisal field. But excited that I had the opportunity to work in the field and just gain some of the knowledge, that you had from real estate appraising.
You were actually a pretty good appraiser. You just didn't love
I did not love it. You're right.
it.
I think I was a good. I think I was a good appraiser. I just didn't love it because I definitely had the knowledge and the financial acumen to get the MAI designation, and had taken, really, I think I was short probably 4 classes had taken a lot of coursework. That was mainly due to the fact that it was being paid for. So I was taking the coursework as fast as I could and as much as I could because we had the financial resources to take care of those classes. So that was just a great experience, and was able to take classes not only in Cincinnati, took classes in Indiana, took classes in Michigan, and took classes in Texas. So I even traveled and took classes.
And can you
You
just
know,
touch on your ongoing joke about any evaluation? What's the basis for any evaluation, and you can figure it out?
Basis of any foundation, commercial and residential, is Irv. That
Yeah, you
sums it
still.
up. Irv. I
Irv
divided
uses
by
a universal, and you still use a universal cap rate of 10% for all valuations.
10%, absolutely, 100% occupancy, no vacancy.
Yeah.
the thing that I'm most proud of that is a dream coming clear. For an example, you mentioned or did mention that I used to work for General Motors. It's the best job
No,
I
I
ever
did
had.
mention that you used to work for General Motors. I did mention that, but I was going to. And just
Yeah,
on that, you started at General Motors right out of high school in
correct. 65.
1964, 65. Yeah, but you were supposed to come out of
64.
school in 64.
Well, 64 is when I started.
So
But it's
talk
the
about
best
your
job.
experience at General Motors.
I was what now?
Talk about your work experience at General Motors and how you said it was the best job
Gen-
that you love to hate.
right. General Motors changed my whole life around. Uh, it put me in a position of middle class living. Okay. It put me in a position to put my kids in another position. And I know you guys worked there a couple summers. You were excited about it and thought about maybe getting hired at General Motors. But like I told you guys at the time, I'm in a place that I don't like. Why would I want you to be here? The base, we got the base. Let's go now and everybody go forward. Okay. You have a degree. Todd has a degree and Makai has a degree. Okay. General Motors put us in that position to get those degrees. General Motors put us in a position to move on for a better life. Okay. Uh, I saw what happened when General Motors closed. A lot of guys who were there and made good money and had no place to go and nothing to do. You hear Todd talk about the fields he's been in because of an education. Okay. You hear Micaiah because of an education. You have been the only guy here, though, that saw real estate from the beginning. And this is what you've always done for the last 30 some years. But that's been your love and your passion, you know. But General Motors turned our lives around and put us in a position to make some decisions, give us a position to take care of our family. And if you've noticed, I've never talked about being rich, because that wasn't my goals. My goals is to have a decent life. My goals is to take care of my family. My goals is to have to send my kids to school, and that's what General Motors did for me. But like I said, it's the best job, and it's a job that some people will like, some people will appreciate. I appreciate the job, but I didn't like the job, and I appreciate what the job did for me, but I didn't like the job. Okay. The happiest I've been is when General Motors took off and left me, and I tell people I haven't had a job since 82, and I've been able to survive and take care of my family.
Well, I remember that they offered me a job in my freshman year, making $500 a week, and I got all excited. And you weren't quite as diplomatic as you seem now because I said I was taking the job and you said I wasn't, and there wasn't a whole lot of conversation about that either. And another thing too that I want to just show you here. Look, ha! I got an earring now. So that's one of the things that I wanted to do. My freshman year at Tennessee State, I called home and said everybody was going to get their ears pierced, and you said, "Oh, we don't do that." And I think I said something to the fact that I was grown, and you said something to the fact, "Well, bring your grown ass home with an earring," and I didn't do it, but I got my ear pierced, I think about 5 years ago, and I called you and I said, I'm grown, I got my ear pierced, and you got the biggest laugh and biggest excitement out of that. So it's just things that happen along the way and your guidance. And I have a lot of friends now that are actually retiring from Ford in different places and have done quite well and have gotten, different qualities of life. But that was something that you were really adamant about, that you didn't like being there, and that wasn't what you wanted for us. So I'm grateful, as is everybody else on this call, that you had that foresight. But what gave you that sort of foresight? I know that you left. You were born here in Georgia in 1944, and one of the things that you talk about often is that your grandfather used to say he never worried about eating until he got to Cincinnati, and that's kind of some of the things that we're doing now with around agriculture and farming and development, and basically trying to get back to communal and cooperative living where it takes the whole village. Speak on that a little bit for me.
Well, I didn't quite understand what my grandfather was saying. Okay. But as I've gotten older, I understand more and more. He was in charge of his destiny. He had a farm. He raised his food. He grew. I mean, everything he needed, he could produce. He never had a lot of money. During the Depression, he said he didn't even know there was a depression, because he didn't have any money, really didn't need a whole lot of money, but he had everything to eat, a roof over his head, the family was fine. So my grandfather was one of those guys that just inspired me to do better. I mean, uh, always, if you tell people you're going to do something, do it. He couldn't read, he couldn't write, but he was a man of his word. If he told you something, boom, that was it. You didn't have to write it down. It didn't have to be written. He would, and he showed he would go to work every day. And it was just the thoughts that I think about him every day is that he taught me what he could teach me. To be an honorable person and do what you say you're going to do.
And I think that you've passed that on to us, and we've been the beneficiaries of you being there and being present. And of course, some mistakes were made, but like you said, your father did the best he could, grandfather did the best he could. You've done the best you can, and I think we are doing the best we can in impacting lives. So one of the things that I've always admired, and it's been somewhat distracting, is having to share you with the community. You've always been a person about the community, and I can't count the number of people that you've helped in careers pretty much the whole time I've been around. You've helped folks learn how to paint, drywall, HVAC, uh, business. Even when you had the dry cleaners in Avondale. I remember when the street when Forest went all the way to Reading Road and Rockdale went all the way to Reading Road, and you had the dry cleaners next to Bernard Fruits and Vegetables, Mr. Brownlow, who eventually moved around to J&W. So there's so much history and legacy, and I think that was what 80 when the city came back in eminent domain and relocated you all.
Right, right. They
And
came back and they relocated a few people, but I just took the buyout and just went from there. Uh, I It was just a lot easier.
so at the time there was banks in Avondale, there was Kroger's in Avondale, there were restaurants in Avondale, and it was like a booming and thriving metropolis that I remember as a kid, and it really
Avondale
hasn't
was just
been.
Avondale was his own little city. There were an awful lot of minority-owned businesses in Avondale, you know, and even gas stations. I don't know if we have maybe one or two minority-owned gas stations in the city of Cincinnati now, and we had about 15 back in the day, you know.
Really, it was 15
Uh,
in Avondale. The only one I remember is I remember Bob's Ohio on Burnett Avenue because they sponsored one of the teams at the Boys Club.
there was a Texaco station there down beneath Bob's, but there was a whole bunch of other people all over town, like Lincoln Heights. There were 2 or 3 gas stations in Lincoln Heights. Madisonville, there was 2 or 3 gas stations in Madisonville. On Gilbert Avenue, there were a couple of gas stations there. You know, there were an awful
I
lot of
do remember the gas
minority.
station on the corner of Hewitt and Woodburn before the Kentucky
Mhm.
Fried Chicken was there across from the bus terminal.
Yeah, yeah.
There's one up the street from Walnut Hills High School
Hmm.
at the corner as well.
Oh yeah, at the corner of Blair and Montgomery Road.
Right.
But fast forward, there's probably, I know there's one, maybe 2 in Cincinnati now.
I think there's 2.
Where?
Yeah. It's at one's at Winton Road and
Ben.
North Bend, and I don't know where the other one is.
Oh, and then I think that your neighbors used to have a gas station over on Harrison Avenue. Oh, over in
Yeah,
Westwood.
yeah, they did.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
the
did.
Robinson
They did.
on Hutchins.
Right.
And I think Jay Raj has one now. I think that might be the one that he has.
Mhm.
So, so Micaiah,
Yes,
I don't
sir.
mean to wake you up there. I know you're meditating heavily. Talk about your experience, and what do you see as the future for valuation? I know you've most recently taken the courses. You've done the heirs property training. You've taken the principles and practices. Uh, you have been doing quite a bit, and you've done some traveling with us, working with the farmers as well as the churches. And what do you anticipate, or what phase do you think you ultimately want to be able to specialize in?
So there are various different areas when you talk about what's new in valuation and what's coming down the pipeline. I mean, even just talking about technology and the drone technology of when it comes to doing valuations for homes, and not even just for homes, but for farmland. So when we talk about resecuring food security, being able to support black farmers by doing valuations or doing reconsiderations of values for the land that they own, there's just a lot of headway, a lot of room for growth and development in various areas. There's cannabis. We know that cannabis is a booming industry now, and that also needs to be valued. Those buildings that produce cannabis and those greenhouses need to have valuations done on them. And so when you talk about, where I want to specialize, the sky really is the limit right now, and as
Well,
technology is improving.
do you want to test the cannabis? You can value it as a cannabis tester too. The grade of the cannabis, the quality. Does it got the real giddy up to it? Are you a sampler of the cannabis?
I think I'll just stick to valuing the land and the
Oh,
improvements. Yeah, I
okay.
think I'll stick to the land value and the improvements.
Okay, but
Um,
you didn't like grade the cannabis when you were in college?
no, student athlete. So didn't grade the cannabis. Never graded cannabis.
Okay, but that is in value in the cannabis. You can value it from seed to sale. So there are people that actually value the quality of the cannabis, the leaves, that sort of thing. But anyway, Todd, back to you and picking up the ball here. Uh, Moving on with the space. One of the things that I've been impressed with is you doing commercial servicing at another level now. And I know this is your busy season right now, so you like printing money because it's over 90 degrees And what is the life expectancy of an HVA system, C system, and what system do you recommend?
In regards to what systems I recommend in the life, really the HVAC systems are really similar to automobiles. Every manufacturer has their base model, and then every manufacturer has their premium model or that brand that you're familiar with. So Bryant is the brand that most people are familiar with, but they also have Payne, which is not a popular name and not a name that people are familiar with. So they're all made by the same company. So just as General Motors has General Motors and they have Cadillac. So that's one thing. And in regards to the furnaces, the most important thing as far as making the furnace last and function properly in its space is the proper installation of the furnace. If the furnace is not installed properly or it's not properly sized, the furnace is not going to last and have the longevity that it should have. And in regards to how long it will last, it really is a machine, and it depends on one, the runtime and the use of the machine. So, for instance, I'm a person that's hot natured. So, in the winter, I'm going to have my thermostat set at 68, and on the coldest days, maybe 70. But there's people that have their thermostat set at 78 and 80, and that's the temperature that they're trying to have their system run and reach to. Okay, well, based on runtime, that system is going to work way harder than the system that is not set at 80 degrees. So it's really based on runtime because it's really a machine. The parts are going to wear out. And the second most important thing is, as my dad always says, changing the filter, but maintenance. Maintenance is changing the filter is just one part of maintenance. But having a maintenance plan and having that unit checked out at least at a minimum 2 times a year, it'll increase the longevity of your system. It'll make sure it's operating at peak efficiency. And then 2, it would also honor the manufacturer's warranty. It'll help justify and make that warranty not be voided. Because if you had a car and you never got it maintenance and you just ran, never changed the oil, never changed the brakes, and then say, okay, I ran this car and it should be covered under warranty. It's only a year and a half old and it stopped. It would void the warranty just for the simple fact that you didn't have it serviced. So that's the importance of longevity to your unit is just getting it maintenance, checking the
So, what's
filters.
the average
And
cost of a system?
say it again.
What's the average cost of an HVAC system?
A complete system can run anywhere from 8,000 to $12,000 on average. But if you want premium equipment with highest efficiency, you're looking at somewhere around 15,000 to 25,000 for the high efficiency systems.
So, do the high efficiency systems, how much do they increase your property value?
I don't really know about the property value, but it's definitely the energy that you achieve from having the high efficiency systems is definitely worth it. And you just have to have, it's just like, once again, just like the cars, different people want different things for their home. So most of the times we present people with a value option and we present them with a high efficiency option so that you can make the choice that's best for you and best for your particular home environment.
What's the lifespan on a system?
Lifespan, once again, is based upon runtime, but the average heat pump system lifespan is 10 to 12 years, and the average furnace and air condenser will last typically 12 to 15 years.
Now, one of the things that I see people always tell me, well, I got a new system. I just spent $20,000 on a new system. So they think that their property value should increase by $20,000, and it doesn't. New systems typically will have an incremental increase. And what I try to talk to people about is value in exchange versus value in use. If you don't have a system, you're going to be very deficient and suffer an extreme depreciation. If you have a new system, a lot of the value is gonna come in you utilizing it and having a higher efficiency system and a better quality of life. So there is a balance, and HVAC is one of those things where I don't think long term you really get a dollar for dollar return. You probably get a 50% return, and the other 50% you're going to get in utilization. So that's simply
Absolutely.
value in use versus value in exchange. So
I totally
that
agree
from
with
that,
that. I was gonna
and
say,
the
I
other
always
question,
tell people, hold on one second. I always tell people, I said, it's great that you have marble countertops and marble floors and, you know, the, mahogany wood door. And I said, the one thing that if you don't have would make that less valuable is if your HVAC system did not provide comfort to that home. None of that would really matter when someone came to your house. And also, it would not only make your house uncomfortable, but it would destroy the home because of the humidity and the effects of not having an HVAC system, mold, humidity, and the other factors that would be involved.
now is there an additional cost, or do you think there's additional value for what Micaiah talked about as far as hospital quality air?
Absolutely, I agree with that because,
Is
especially
that
in
something special
urban.
that you have to add to the system?
Yes, they have different options for different budgets as well, but they have whole house systems. They have systems that could connect to your existing furnace, and then of course they have a lot of standalone options that you can buy and have better air quality room by room. But I like the whole house systems because of the fact that you're already taking air from your entire house and really cleaning the air, indoor air quality, and improving the indoor air quality in your entire home. So no matter where you go, versus a room by room type of solution.
So when you put in a system now, do you have to put in the furnace and the air conditioner, or can you put in a new furnace and will it support an old air, or will an old furnace support a new air conditioner, or do both of the systems need to be replaced at the same time?
It's best right now. We have a new refrigerant in 2025, and so that new refrigerant is mildly flammable, according to the both manufacturers of the two new refrigerants that are A2L compliant. So it's best if you have a furnace, coil, and air condenser that is working together because in case that refrigerant has a leak, the manufacturers did not want that system to be able to fire off and potentially set the refrigerant on fire. So therefore, the new furnaces have a capability and a sensor to sense the refrigerant and recognize if there's a leak, and then thereby shut the furnace down automatically. But the answer to your question is, can you put use an existing furnace that is not a 2025 or A2L furnace? And yes, they do have a workaround for a furnace, and it's called a dragonfly board, and it's an additional thing that you can wire into an existing furnace. But it's really not something that is preferred. It's just one way of doing it and getting around it. So if your furnace is less than 5 years old, we would go ahead and recommend if it's applicable for that particular situation and it'll fit in that space that you have to go ahead and add a dragonfly board. But if it's over that age, and typically most of the units that we're looking at that point are 10 years old and out of warranty anyway, we recommend that you replace the entire system because just like a car, the longer you run it, the more runtime it has. You're going to have manufacturer parts that are just going to wear out. You're going to be replacing part after part, and eventually wind up having to buy a new furnace anyway. And it's always cheaper to put everything together as one package and do it at one time because pretty much when we come back, if we install AC, we would have to uninstall the furnace to install the new furnace or vice versa.
Then can you
So
speak to the change in technology? And there's constantly changes in the requirements of refrigerant. So there's a refrigerant or coolant. If you using an older system and it still happens to be running, are you forced to be able to get a new system because you're not able to get access to Freon for older systems? Is that still an issue?
You certainly is an issue. When I first started doing this, it was R22, okay, and R22 is like maybe $40 a jug. I don't even know if you can buy R22 for $5,000 jug now. You know,
Really, the
it's just
same
under
deal.
the same jug. Yeah. So it's not. They're not even making it. You know, you might. I don't even. I haven't been around for a minute now, so I don't know if you can buy any 22.
It's very few manufacturers that have R22 in stock because it's become unaffordable. And then they have what they call plug-ins or offshoots of it that are supposed to be able to be used and function just as well. But we typically don't use those either because the one thing that happens once you touch a system, we feel like you own the system. So if I put a plug in and it doesn't work, then it's your fault that the system doesn't work. It's not the fact that your unit is 25 years old and it just didn't work. So that's the thing with the old refrigerant and just the phase out of it.
So one of the things, Makai, I'd like you to speak to is the newer technology, and you're pretty up on technology on all fronts. Uh, what do you think about when you see new systems versus old systems? Are you recommending that they change the system, or what do you think about the technology you see from the old systems to the new system?
Um, so Todd mentioned this earlier, but when you talk about energy, just the difference in
Did you say Todd?
in the,
Is Todd your father? Or
yes, he
Todd
is
just what? Okay, okay. I was just checking. Y'all look a little bit alike.
just a little bit. I'm a little bit more handsome. But when talking about the technology and how that enhances everything, and so when you talk about HVAC technology, one of the one of the more modern inventions has been the inverter, and so that's like how if you push on a gas pedal and your car goes forward and it modulates, it does the same thing with the HVAC system. And so now the newest wave of HVAC home installations for equipment is going to be these units that modulate with the home. So that is a massive increase in energy savings versus the older systems, which is with the start and stop compressor. My recommendation is if you have a system that's over 10 to 15 years old, to get changed out to an inverter system. Just the energy cost savings alone will do massive wonders for your home.
So how do you see
And
that
then
impacting the property's value?
I see it impacting it more in the future. Uh, as of today, I don't think that there's as much focus on it now. But as time, like I said, as I mentioned earlier, as time moves forward, as you have these homeowners, newer homeowners who are going to be more conscious about their carbon footprint, more conscious about their energy usage, this is going to become more valuable as time goes on. And so
So
and
what
then
do
that's
you
why I
in
think
think
the
the
city of
value.
about?
Cincinnati, hold on one second, because to Makai's point, in the city of Cincinnati, they have a green movement, and it's called Electrify Cincinnati. And what they want to do is convert so many homes and remove them from the fossil fuels or gas or and oil based fuel systems to all electric systems. So there is a push in the city of Cincinnati. And there's going to be financial incentives. And just like he said, people want to be green and reduce their carbon footprint. And with the inverter technologies and changing your home over to electric, changing your hot water heating to an electric based heating system because they have high efficiency inverter technology used on the heat and the water side. That is one of the big waves of the future.
So in that, Daddy, I remember, or I think I remember early on that talking about electrical systems not getting as hot as gas systems. Is the quality of heat not as good for electric as opposed to gas, and has the technology improved those?
I back at old school. Okay. Always preferred something that was burning, the oil, the gas, But now when they increase the efficiency, okay, uh, it's it's not ever going to be as hot as the oil or gas, but it can raise it up to the temperature that you like 80 degrees, and with less costs. And that's where we're going. Everybody's going to be watching their bucks, and they're not going to worry about putting their hands over the registers anymore. Just putting their hands on their pocketbook.
And to this point, the science of it is that oil, propane, and gas, they're always going to be the hottest and provide the most BTU. However, as Makai was talking about the inverter technology, back in the old school time, after about 30 degrees, now they have heat pumps that go down to next 25 degrees. So whereas it was not capable of working in extreme temperatures, it's now more capable, and the technology has changed where it can hold its own in the extreme temperatures. So it's really improved technology, just like any other system.
Can you explain to us what a BTU is? A lot of us don't know, and you just threw it out there like everybody knows what a BTU is.
I apologize.
What is that?
It's the measurement of heat in its British thermal units, and so that's what heat is measured in. So your furnace, your electric heat pump.
When I think of British, I think of cold. If I think of Africa, I think of hot. So why couldn't it be an African thermal unit?
I guess it could. You could change that. I suggest you put that as a part of your agenda and pencil that in. I agree with you. I support you in that.
Thad Senior, your development efforts in Avondale, where you have done a lot. Well, you've gotten out of Avondale now. You used to be all your primary real estate investments were in Avondale. How do you feel about Avondale's growth and development, and what do you see for the future?
I don't know. I don't have my finger on the pulse like I used to have. At one time, for an example, on Hutchins, I had about 7 houses, and I called myself the mayor of Hutchins. And I used to sweep the street and know whose baby was this, and talk to their parents about why they're throwing rocks, But I saw an opportunity to get rid of the property and get rid of some of my responsibility because I was getting older and it was wearing on me, and I had other things that I wanted to do. So I'm not as with my finger on the pulse like I used to right there. I think, or I see that Avondale's being gobbled up by many places. For an example, you see
the hospital.
The hospital, So Avondale's never going to be Avondale again.
Well, so it has been for the last probably 30 years the second largest economic engine in the city. So if you take into account you got a world-class zoo, world-class children's hospital, a world-class emergency room, and they have all been centered in Avondale, where if you read the paper, it was in every place but Avondale. It was in Coreyville, it was in Clifton. So a lot of that foundational stuff is really important. And what year did you move to Avondale?
Really don't remember. 57 maybe. Yeah.
So y'all moved on Hutchins in 57, and you had 4 generations living there, and you were the first one to break the family generation and move to Ridgeway. So I think that was what, 68?
68, yeah.
And then we moved to Glenwood on 70. And then we
Yeah.
moved to Merzen Court, what, 74, 72?
Right around it. I don't remember the exact, but we did move to Merzen Court.
Yeah, wait, we was there a lot longer than you were, because you.
Yeah, I had to exit Merzen Court. I had to relinquish my ownership to the property.
Yeah, that's okay. It provided a nice, safe place for us to be. So I'm not gonna belabor this. I just wanted to I had take this opportunity to bring us all together and celebrate you in the 45 years of business and your vision, and to celebrate Todd and being able to pick up the ball and move forward and the success that you all have. You all look a lot different than you do on those big old signs I see up on Galbraith Avenue when I'm in town, and everybody was calling me to talk about. Micaiah, thank you. I know that you probably not getting much sleep at night. You got a 2 month old and a 2 year old, so we appreciate you. We know those hours are very near and dear that you're spending right now, and I'm just excited about Micaiah in the future. I'm very proud of what Todd is doing. And just one last story. Can you just talk a little bit about that time where you made Todd wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to cut the grass, and he was very irritated about that?
That was I came home from General Motors about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I looked at my grass. Half of it was cut, and the other half wasn't cut. So I woke Mike up, Todd up. I said, "Look, why the grass isn't totally cut?" He said, "Well, it got dark on me." So I said, "Okay," I accepted that. So the next morning, I woke Todd up about 6 o'clock in the morning, and I said, "Todd, wake up. I need for you to go cut the grass." "It's 6 o'clock in the morning." I said, "Yeah, I know." I said, "But I don't want it to get dark on me." So that's the last time I. That's the last time I had to have Todd any things about the grass.
I still get up early now, every day.
Lesson learned. Lesson learned.
See?
Yeah, it absolutely worked. Makai, do you have any words of wisdom that you would like to leave us with? Because we always happy to hear from you. And again, you have so much knowledge. It's like you were here before. And so I'm always grateful and thankful for that which you share with me. So can give the audience a little bit of that ocean of knowledge. Just don't give them too much, though.
Uh, yeah, sure. Um, and so I guess if there's anything to leave everyone with, be excited for the future. There's a lot of terrible things happening, lots of wars, rumors of wars happening. The only word of encouragement I have is to actually have hope for the future and to not really take the time daily to uh, just time that's available to you now to learn more and to do more, because there is no other time in the world where we have access to the technology tools that we have access and available to us now. And there's a lot that can be done, a lot of good work to be done.
Speaking of that, I'm really excited about that. So one of the things that I know that you're big on, Makai, is building models in AI. How do you see AI impacting HVAC, and how do you see AI impacting the appraisal industry?
Sure thing. And so when we talk about AI, in particular to HVAC, really what it immediately takes me to is learning habits of, if we're talking about residential, for example, using AI to enhance energy efficiency. So if it learns your habits of when you're at home, when you're not home, how to modulate the system for comfort there. But then when you talk about commercial buildings and you talk about these massive networks, of machinery that has to be managed, usually by several individuals and monitored by individuals. The future of AI there in those systems is being able to use AI to modulate even entire skyscrapers or entire commercial buildings. So that's where a lot of I see the technology being an enhancement there. And then when you talk about appraisal and AI and appraisal, I see it just being as an assistive tool to help maintain appraisal uh, and maintain impartiality in the appraisal process. You know, Thad's been championing the world of 10KB, 10KM for a few years now. And a lot of what AI and these new technologies is allow us to do is to enhance the data science and to use really impartial data to support our valuations. And that's where I see the future of both AI and HVAC and an evaluation.
Well, I'm excited about being able to learn that from you. I know we've gone over some of the models and the modeling, and you have some and I say that with all sincerity about the modeling and some of the input, because some things you really help me to get a grasp and understanding of. So, Dad, Senior, you got anything else you want to say before we close out this segment here?
Nothing other than I'm proud of you guys. Keep up the good work and reach out to whomever you can to try to expose and drag other people along. We need to forge on to stand our own ground, sort of speak, as far as teaching folk and exposing folk. Anybody basically can learn if they're exposed. And that has been my motto all along, is to try to expose people to, you don't have to put up with this, you don't have to settle for this. You can do this, you know.
And Todd, you got anything?
Yeah, just one thing. Want to just say thank you for having us, and appreciate you bringing us all together. I think it's a great thing that you're doing, and keep up the fight of just making and changing and impacting this industry of the appraisal practice, and making the playing field level. That's the main thing, because valuation is wealth, and without that, that being our biggest wealth generator, it's one of those things that's really important, not only to us as individuals, but to our whole community and to the nation. So just keep doing what you're doing, and keep up the good fight, and just don't get tired.
Oh shit, I get tired every day. But thank you for you all's support and encouragement. I wouldn't be here without you all. And I have two questions, and these will be directed at you, Thad Senior. First is, how many children do you have?
That depends on which direction you're going. Okay.
That wasn't a
Biologically,
trick
I have
question,
five.
bro.
Well, it's okay. Biologically, I have five. Then I have two. That's seven. Then I have a lot of other guys that I've touched that call me Pop. So, you know, I don't know. I don't have a number on those.
Okay, I'm gonna let you off the hook with that one because I see you sweating there. But then here's another one. This is just for the record. Who is your favorite child?
Oh, that's a difficult one. I
That's
can't answer
easy.
that.
Come on now. That's
You
easy.
don't have to.
It's obviously
I,
me.
I, I can't answer that. I'll have to plead the fifth on that, you know.
Ah, come on, man. I can't believe. Anyway, I love all of y'all. Thank y'all for coming on to the podcast. I'm sure Rick will have his job editing what can be aired and what can't be aired. And I want to say a big shout out and thank you for Rick Clear, our producer, and to our chief operating officer, Miss Anita Ana Perez. They are the engines that make this thing go. And I'm very thankful and grateful for the both of them riding with me on this journey. So thanks again, and I love y'all, and I'll see you all soon. And we made it. We did it, y'all. Woo!
Salute.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Reconcile the value, keep the story true. water.